Hey there, language teachers! If you've been struggling to assess your students' language abilities in a way that feels authentic and truly reflects their growth, you're in the right place. In today's video, we're diving into holistic language assessments, what they are, why they matter, and most importantly, how you can start using them today to boost results with ease. No more focusing on isolated skills or tests that don't show the whole picture of what your students can do. Assessing language as a whole, rather than as a collection of isolated skills, is one of the most transformative shifts you can make in your classroom. Think about it. When was the last time you used only one language skill at a time in the real world? We don't just speak or write. We listen, respond, and make meaning out of language in all sorts of ways at once. So why should assessments be any different? Let's start with something that's going to change the way you assess your students forever. Integrated Performance Assessments, IPAs. Imagine this. You've got students working together on a group project, presenting a topic in the target language. They're speaking, sure, but they're also listening to each other. And later, they'll be writing a reflective summary on how the whole thing went. It's not just one isolated skill anymore. It's one project. You've tapped into their ability to communicate across multiple dimensions of language, making the assessment way more authentic and meaningful. And the best part? You'll see their language abilities come together in ways that a typical grammar test could never capture. But we're not just stopping there. This next strategy is a total game changer. After every major task, instead of moving on to the next thing, try this. Ask your students to reflect on what they just did. What skills did they use? How did they feel during the process? Having them reflect on how they use speaking, listening, writing, and reading all together helps them recognize their own progress. It's like holding up a mirror and showing them that they are making huge strides, even when they don't always feel it. Suddenly, their learning becomes a lot more visible, and you'll see their confidence soar. And here's where it all comes together: real-world tasks. These assessments mimic the situations they'll actually face outside the classroom. Think about it: ordering food at a restaurant, asking for directions, or even just chatting with a new friend. These scenarios force students to naturally blend their skills. By designing tasks that feel real, you're not only assessing their language abilities holistically, but you're also preparing them to use those skills in real life. And that's what language learning is all about, right? This is how you assess students in a way that's actually useful and relevant to their everyday lives. By combining these approaches, you're not just teaching language, you're creating fluent communicators who can confidently tackle whatever comes their way. Isn't that what we all want as language teachers? Balancing fluency and accuracy in language assessment is one of those tricky things that, if done right, can completely transform how your students approach learning. Think about it. How often do you hear a student say they're afraid to speak because they don't want to make a mistake? That fear of being wrong holds them back from taking risks with the language, which is the very thing they need to do to grow. So how do we get them to focus on fluency without letting accuracy slip through the cracks? Stick with me. I've got some strategies that will get your students speaking confidently without sacrificing correctness. First up, fluency-focused rubrics. Let's flip the script on the traditional grading system. Instead of docking points for every little grammar mistake, what if we reward students for communicating effectively, even if their sentences weren't perfect? Imagine the difference that would make. When students see that you value how well they can get their message across, rather than how perfectly they do it, they're more likely to take those risks and actually use the language. The grammar will come with time, but fluency, that grows when students feel empowered to speak. It's all about encouraging them to express themselves without that constant fear of making a mistake. And trust me, you'll start to see a big shift in how they approach speaking tasks. Now let's talk about one of my favorite quick wins: timed speaking activities. These are absolute gold for building fluency. Give your students a short amount of time, like 30 seconds or a minute, to speak on a topic without worrying about getting every word perfect. The clock is ticking and the goal is simple: just communicate. This kind of pressure, in a good way, pushes them to prioritize meaning over perfection. By the end of the activity, they'll be surprised at how much they were able to say without stressing over every little detail. And the best part, It gets easier every time they do it. With each round, you'll see their fluency grow and their confidence through the roof. Finally, when it comes to feedback, here's the secret. Focus on content first. When you're grading, start by commenting on the ideas and overall communication. Did they get their point across? Was the message clear? Only after addressing that should you start to tackle the grammar and accuracy. This two-step approach shows your students that fluency and content matter just as much, if not more, than grammatical perfection. It also takes the pressure off letting them see that their efforts to communicate are valued, even if there's room to polish up the details later. This balance between fluency and accuracy not only boosts their confidence, but also makes for more well-rounded language learners in the long run. Balancing fluency and accuracy in assessments might sound like a tightrope walk, but with these strategies, you'll see your students grow into confident communicators who can get their message across. Grammar slip-ups and all. All right, language teachers, if you're ready to take everything you've learned today and dive even deeper, then you don't want to miss our Comprehended 2025 conference. This is the place to be for cutting-edge strategies, expert insights, and hands-on tools that will take your language teaching to the next level. You'll get access to sessions from top CI educators, all from the comfort of your home, whenever it works for you. Whether you're looking to sharpen your assessment techniques, boost student engagement, or master comprehension-based teaching, we've got you covered. So head on over to comprehended.co/register and grab your all-access pass. You can choose from 3, 6, 9, or 12-month options, giving you total flexibility. Trust me, you don't want to miss this. It's going to be an incredible opportunity to transform your classroom and see amazing results. See you there. Formative feedback is like the secret sauce that can turn good language learners into great ones, especially when it's used to support holistic growth. But here's the thing. So many teachers overlook just how powerful regular, low-pressure feedback can be. It's not about waiting for the big, high-stakes test to see where your students are. Instead, it's about giving them opportunities to improve, bit by bit, with feedback that feels manageable and constructive. Let me show you how you can make this a reality in your classroom with just a few simple tweaks. First off, let's talk about frequent, low-stakes assessments. Think quick writes, exit tickets, or even short speaking tasks. These little moments of assessment let you gauge how well your students are picking up on the language without the pressure of a major test. The beauty of these low-stakes assessments is that they allow students to show what they know in a comfortable environment. No one's sweating over their grade, and when you do this regularly, you're not just testing them, you're giving them a chance to grow in small, meaningful ways. Plus, you get a clearer picture of how they're progressing as a whole, not just in one isolated skill. But feedback shouldn't just come from you. It's even more powerful when it comes from their peers. Enter the peer review sessions. Set up activities where students assess each other's work using a holistic rubric. Instead of focusing on nitpicky grammar mistakes, encourage them to give feedback on overall communication and how effective their partner was in getting their message across. When students have the chance to look at someone else's work, they start to see what works in communication and what doesn't. It's a win-win. Your students learn to give meaningful feedback, and they get a deeper understanding of their own strengths and areas for improvement by seeing what their peers are doing. And finally, let's not forget one of the most impactful ways to support holistic growth: goal-setting conferences. Taking just a few minutes to meet one-on-one with your students can make all the difference. In these conferences, let your students set personal goals for their language development, whether it's improving their fluency, writing, or even their confidence in speaking. By involving them in the process, you're handing them the reins. They start to take ownership of the progress, and when they feel like they're driving their own growth, they're far more likely to stay motivated and engaged. These small goal-setting moments turn into big wins over time as students see how they're improving in ways that matter to them. When you use formative feedback strategically, it's not just about pointing out mistakes, it's about guiding students towards holistic, meaningful progress. And the best part? It's easy to implement, and your students will feel the growth happening every step of the way. Thanks so much for watching. If you're excited about holistic assessments, you'll definitely want to check out my next video on unlocking real-world language skills. It's packed with strategies you can start using right away to help your students thrive beyond the classroom. And before you go, I'd love to know, what's one challenge you face when assessing your students' language skills? Share it in the comments below, and let's chat. Until next time, happy comprehensible input.